Syma X21, Syma's latest little micro brushed offering. Direct drive, no gears in this one, so it should be fairly robust, and prop guides to stop you bashing the props about. Now in the past, I've been a little bit harsh on Syma, but the last couple that I've actually flown I think were really, really good starter quads. I'll put links in the description for the ones that I thought were pretty good, but they fly with a lot more finesse than other micros tend to be. They're just a little bit more dialed in. That's not really the right word, but a little bit more finessed I think is the best term. Usually pretty good to learn on. This one's got quite a few little features about it, so I'm going to go through these inside before I take it outside for a flight. With this X21, it doesn't matter whether you turn the quad on first or the transmitter on first, but it has got a binding procedure. Throttle to the bottom, throttle to the top, throttle to the bottom, and then you're good to take off. Now there's a bunch of ways to take off with this one. We've got auto takeoff, auto land. We can arm and disarm with the sticks down, or you can just land it and hold down and it will eventually shut up. So auto takeoff is at the top right there. I'm not pressing anything. So you see we've got, you see we've got a little bit of drift in there. It's not absolutely perfect solid. Now the trimming is one thing that I thought was a little bit quirky, so I'll go over in here, raise it up a little bit at the moment. Yeah, nice and stable. Just that tiny little bit of cyclic drift. So we're drifting backwards at the moment. It says in the manual, to trim it, you hold down this button. Let's put that down. In the manual it says you hold down this trim, or this stick, hold it in and you'll beep. And then you can use this to trim it while it's in flight. That does work to a point, but there's been a couple of quirks where I was messing with the trimming just to get it absolutely perfect. And it kind of leans right on me. It goes to full right trim, essentially. You can trim it back, but because it's full right, you can't trim it in flight. So you have to land it first. Trimming while it's landed and not armed works perfectly well. So I'm going to hold this trim in, and I'm going to press up. 3 short ones, and that's it. And I'm going to take off again and see how it is. Okay, just a tiny bit of right trim. So I'm going to land it again. Hold down until it goes off. Okay, now press this again, and I want just a little bit left. I'm just going to try that and take off, see where it goes. Now to me this was a lot more precise than trying to actually tune it in flight, but that does work to a point. That really didn't seem like it made much difference on the right, so I'm going to go 2 more tiny ones. I've also tried combining controls, so if you want to go forwards and left, hold it down and press up a couple of times, left a couple of times. It doesn't seem to work very well. It seems to only like one input per tune, or per trim. Let's try that again. Okay, that's pretty good. There's a tiny amount of left, it's a bit harsh really to call that left drift, but I guess it is. With the barometer I'd expect it to move around anyway when it got airflow reflecting off things. So I'm going to call that pretty good at the moment. Now if you're starting off with this thing, especially, I should also mention there's 2 versions of this. There's the X21W and the X21. The X21W is a Wi-Fi version with a camera in it. This isn't. You can't use the software that's listed on the box to control this one. It doesn't bind in any way to control with the phone, just with the transmitter. Now if you're starting off with this and you've got FPV especially, I recommend a tiny bit of forward trim. So if we do that, just a tiny bit of forward trim, it means that it's going to hold its own height and move forwards, and then you can just turn it round and actually be flying. Because at first, if this really is your first quad, height holding is going to be the most difficult thing. And it does do a perfect job at that, at least. I should still have a tiny bit of forward trim on it, but not as much. Now you really can just literally use one hand, turn it around. So you can get used to changing the throttle and turning at the same time. As you can see, the height holding is pretty good. There's a little wave around. Okay, now it's also got head holding and return to home. It does work sort of okay. I've got photo and video buttons that don't work with this one. Flip and take off and landing. So first of all, flip. If you hold that button down, it will go into flip mode and then it wants a cyclic input for it. So let's flip to the right. There we go. So you have to press the button, press and hold the button, and then put the input in you want with the right stick. So one more time, press and hold the button, and then hold it back. And it actually raises a little bit first for you, so you don't need a lot of height to do that. I can't say I'll really be using the flip much with that, but it does work pretty well. Okay, so the auto takeoff button, it's going to press auto takeoff again when you're in flight, and it'll land. I haven't tried it from really high, but I've tried it from as high as I can get in here, and it works really well. So the takeoff and land, I'm super impressed with. Now, headless. It's not again something I would use, but I can understand if somebody would want it to start off with. As long as you start off totally straight with this one, it does work quite well. So it's a long press on the right stick to get it into headless, and you get that lovely beep telling you're in it. Okay, so now you can press whoa. Okay, I've taken it out of headless there because it wasn't set right. So to set the head, both down and left, and that will set your new forward. So I'm going to now take off and put it into headless mode with a long press. Okay, so now it's in headless mode. So forward, should go forwards, backwards, backwards, left and right. Okay, that works. So now if I turn it around to face myself, it does still work. Obviously your throttle isn't backwards, but in terms of the cyclic, that is. So I don't really like headless mode. I don't think it does you any favours. I think it'd be better just putting it down, picking it up and taking off again. But it does work. There's no return to home on this one, but again, if you've got a headless mode, you just pull it backwards. That's all that headless, all that return to homes do without a GPS. Your rates, let's turn this out of headless mode. So long press on the right stick. Okay, we're good to go. Now the right stick is our rates. At the moment, we're in the first rate, and we've only got 2. That is my pitch. So it takes a little while to stop once you've got going, just because the rates are so low, but it's effortless to put in a nice smooth yaw. And even though there's a quite a strong spring on the cyclic, it doesn't fight you when you put tiny little inputs in. So this is really smooth to fly. This is why I wanted to fly it inside, because it's only got 1 battery with it, and that's how long they last. So it's not a really long flight. Short press gives you 2 beeps, and that is now your race. Much better, and you can stop sort of on the dot, but it might be a bit lively for inside. If you do crash, hold the throttle down, and if you get the prop stuck in anything, it will basically stop itself. There's no real issue of you burning out any motors with this one. It does sound pretty aggressive. You get it lodged behind a door or something, it just goes mee, but it's only for a couple of seconds. So this one I'll be taking outside, and also sticking a little camera on it and trying some FPV. But there's an overview of the main features, and it's quite a lot for your money, because at the moment we're looking at 1977 for one of these, the non-Wi-Fi version of these. I'm not really into Wi-Fi anyway, not for FPV. And there's a coupon at the moment with 8% off, so that takes about another 160 off that, 180 off that, something like that. Now the only other thing that I've done with this one, let's turn this off. The battery is proprietary. You'll have seen that in the pictures at the start. If not, have a little skip back. The first thing I did was to take that off completely and just put a standard lossy connector on this, and I also put one on the battery as well, so this can just charge like normal. I haven't got too many batteries that actually fit in here, but it does enable me to change the battery and use a second one. There's a small pickle blade connector that I've put in here as well. I think that's what they're called. And this is what my little micro switchable cameras use. So I can bring that out for a switchable camera, and then I can bring this one out also. I've got two little holes there. So if I put a larger battery inside that doesn't allow me to put the actual contact inside, the plug inside, I can put the lead coming out the back and have it connected there, and it flies fine with a slightly larger battery. And then my camera can plug into here. So a bit dark at the moment, but as soon as the sunrise comes up, I'm going to go out for a fly. Alrighty, I found myself a little dog-free spot. Not that there's a lot of doggies here, but they're every couple of minutes. Okay, Syma X21. We're going to try some FPV with this one. I had a quick test hover inside, and carrying the camera, the height holding doesn't really work. You need to actually hold up a little bit. But that's kind of fair enough, really. It's not programmed for that, and optimized for the weight that it's at. I've also got a little bit of forward CG on that one. It didn't really seem to matter because it's stabilizing to level up. And I've got elastic band on the bottom there, so I can pop on some different batteries and also hold this in place. And that's just stuck on with blue tack. Hello, little piggy-in. Can I help you? Come on, little thing, this is my flight time. Does it not support a channel or something? What? Okay, I've changed my band from E to F. Oh, come on! You're gonna give me a shitty video now. Calibrate. Ah, oh, come on, you bag of shite. It must be kicking out a shitty signal. Yeah. Something wrong with the signal it's putting out. That's not, I don't think that's my goggles. What? The DVR actually looks good, so I'm just going to record and see. Okay, recording. Wow, that's really weird. Like, my recording picture's fine. Okay, so I'm not going to fly FPV with this battery. Weird. That's basically keeping its own height, but having trouble because I put a camera on it. So height holding now needs human input. So I'm not sure why I'm getting all fuzz on my goggles, but the DVR section showed it was working smooth. So we'll see what the recorded footage is like. I can tell this isn't really an FPV platform without removing at least 4 grams or so of actual FPV gear that's inside, electronics that's inside it, and I'm not really sure it's got 4 grams. It's another one of those 7mm motor issues. It flies great. Syma really do get this self-level, height holding thing sorted to feel smooth and natural instead of robotic. Not flown a Hubsan yet that managed that. So it's not got a lot of power, and I'm having to hold up all the time, but it's pleasant to fly, it really is. If I could get a signal, I would enjoy flying this FPV. Wrong button. There we are. I'm in faster mode now. I mean, it hasn't got a lot of power. This would be really nice to actually learn FPV on. it kind of, the height holding does work still, but the height of the throttle the height that you put the throttle at determines the height of it. But to coast along, you have to have it above where it will spring back to. I put a little external battery connector in this, so I'll try again with another channel and a couple of batteries and see what's going on with this FPV Lark. It's flying longer than I thought it would, to be honest. Okay, there we go. We got a flash. Hold down. So, my pitch is still all scrambled in there for some reason, but if I change to DVR, my pitch seems fine, and it's been recording. So, let's try another battery. Because I know I've got a clean feed before. I'm turning it on first, and then plugging in the camera. Little ant wants to fly. Go on, hop on. That is really weird. I'm just getting garbled video from this thing. Absolutely not flyable. We'll try one more scan. Yep, just rubbish. But if I stick it to DVR function, I get that. The only trouble is you can't fly with DVR because it's got a lag. Well, tell you what, let's try and fly with DVR. Okay, we're recording. Bear with me. Definitely some strange interference going on across parallel lines a little bit. We're off. Oh my goodness. Got tremendous lag and it feels like Wi-Fi FPV, like 15 frames a second or something. I can, however, see where I'm going. So we'll just have a little coast around the easy bits. That is a shame. I'm really not sure what's going on there. Thing's capable of some really smooth flight. Now this is the absolute perfect quad to give someone to fly who's never flown before. If people start approaching me in the park, this is one I'll be giving them. Auto takeoff, auto land, it's very tame, it's very smooth, it holds its height, it's got self-level, and you can trim it to fly hands off pretty much. Near bad for 20 quid. I'd still like to see rate mode. I don't see any reason why it's not included. On every micro. Excuse my slightly shaky yaw, because I kind of pressed it and then nothing happens for a second. So I let go, but then it moves. So less than ideal situation. Oh my goodness. I can't see myself flashing when this does run out. I'm using the 450 milliamp hour battery from the Dust 68. quite honest, I'm enjoying this more than I did the X68. It wasn't the most vibration-free class. Definitely losing power now. Oh, you can do it. And a lap. Oh, you go, Syma. Oh my goodness. I don't recommend anybody learning to fly with lag like this. Okay. What is alive? Let's auto land. There's no very fast auto land. Try again. Go, gadget, auto land. So I hope we got some DVR from that. That was pretty pleasant. Syma X21. Not the perfect FPV platform, but workable to a point. Pretty awesome quad for 20 quid. I'm not sure I could recommend a better quad for an absolute beginner, someone who's never flown a quad before. I think on those levels it's pretty good. It's going to suffice up to get basic orientation down and even flying inside. I think if you actually progress, you're probably going to want something a little bit more aggressive. It's quite tame. But apart from that, Syma nailed it again with a bargain 20 quid learner quad. Really excellent. Nice work, Syma.